everyone, my name is Jotna Tarivio, and today we are with Fedor Kozlov in the loop in front of the Daley Center. And Fedor, I want you to tell us about what this building is and where we are and what happens here.
Well, this is 50 West Washington, center of downtown of Chicago, Illinois. This is a very famous building, not only because it's not only civil, it's the courthouse of the state of Illinois, I would say. It's 30 stories up, floors up, and several downstairs. It has everything. It has criminal law, it has civil law, family law, sheriff's office, and anything, every time when you have to deal in the state of Illinois. This is the state court. You go here, that's where I go all the time, litigate cases here, go in front of the judges. And this plaza, if you can take a look, it's also very famous because we have lots and lots of different meetings here. It's a very good fair, and then during holiday times, it's also a very nice place to visit. There are concerts right in front of it. So this is very interesting, popular, famous, and one of my most favorite places in Chicago.
Wow, I want to learn a little bit more about what you do. So you practice family law. Can you tell me a little bit about how you got into family law and what that journey looked like for you?
Of course, when I went for my law degree at Michigan State University, I worked in many non-for-profit organizations, mostly helping victims of domestic violence, mostly women, and I also worked with the Office for the Orders of Protection. So I saw firsthand the issues that families might have due to domestic violence disputes or with custody disputes or anything else that would be in connection with that. Family law is a very interesting subject in general because it develops over time. If you think about it, there are a lot of fields in the law that also develops, but family law, there is nothing stable, nothing I would say for good, like nothing is in stone because we have children, and children always develop, and we have to do everything in the best of the children, interest of the children. So you can't just have one order, one decision by the judge that will go over the years. You can always modify, you can always come back to it. There are so many aspects of it as the society goes on. We have new laws, same-sex marriages, we have embryo rights, reproduction rights, and many, many others. So with that background that I had in Michigan State, when I came back here to Illinois, I say back because I first lived in Chicago and then I went to Michigan and then came back. It was almost natural for me to start the practice in the family law.
What a complex industry to be in. I can't imagine the amount of empathy and compassion that has to be involved, especially when dealing with clients going through really challenging cases.
It's always emotional, almost every time emotional. They say there are two types of divorces that can be contested or uncontested. To me, it's always contested because uncontested divorce, they say that when you find a compromise, there's always going to be somebody who is at least upset that the marriage fell apart and that something didn't happen, especially when it involves kids. And one of the things that people mostly don't think about during divorce process is that, you have those children, father and mother getting divorced, but nobody is asking what the kids at the age that they are thinking about this whole process, right? So if you have a 4 or 5 year old, they might not care too much, but they still want to see the father. They still want to see the father. When you have a teenage, children, nobody's asking them why you have to move out now from this household, why you moving from this school district, and why you cannot have these friends. Why do you have to go and spend a weekend at your father's house? It always affects children. It always affects how they're gonna grow and how, what kind of people they will be when they grow up. So when we deal with this divorce, and Illinois has very good laws as far as protecting families. Tries to make the family as a whole, meaning that we do everything that is in the best interest of kids. But how can you do it if you still have to adjust your life and what the consequences? That's sometimes what's emotional when you talk to
Sure.
a client in the office.
Wow. I love that you talk about that, because I imagine that when a client or a family is looking for an attorney, right? They're not just looking for somebody that knows what they're doing and is going to help them achieve their goals with their case, but also somebody that really cares about everybody involved,
Yeah.
including children, right?
By all
So-
means, of course.
Yeah.
And then, going back to law school days, we've been taught not to get personally involved with
Yeah.
the case, because once you get personally involved in the case, you become emotional. And that's
Right.
one of the things that they advise not to do, because then now you're not really thinking as a lawyer. But it's very difficult, as you just mentioned, not to become emotional, especially when you have children. And sometimes they even come to office with children, and depends on the age, and you have to work with this child as well. We also have so-called GAL, so child representatives. It's a special license for lawyers. I did quite a few work, non-for-profit, not for money, with Chicago Volunteer Services, where I would represent children in cases where divorce is inevitable and people don't have money to pay for lawyers. So I would go and do this kind of work.
Wow.
I love doing it. It's always very rewarding. at the end
Wow.
of
So
the
you were
day.
very involved.
I am.
You've been doing this for about 17 years. You've
17
been
years,
practicing,
yes,
right?
Yes.
That's a long time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's a long time. So what keeps you in this industry? Why are you still practicing law today?
It's the human factor. It's
Yeah.
that's the energy that I get, and I could never do I think something more like transactional, when you just have to draft a contract. At the end of the divorce, you hope that people would come to a compromise and draft a contract, marital settlement agreement, or some kind of allocation judgment for children. But most of the time, it's the communication with client.
Mhm.
If you think about it, so many people involved: the client, the judge, the opposing counsel, his or her client, sometimes child representative. And all of them, including professionals, trying to resolve the case. So sometimes when the case cannot be resolved and it's not in the best interest of the children, then we go to courts, this building, and
Yep.
litigate in front of the judge. So that's what drives me. I like litigation. I like going to courts. I like this. I know a lot of people don't like going to courts. They see it as
I mean, I'm one of them.
they see it more as I get it. This is stress in the family, but that's why you have a professional that takes the stress away from you and does it for you. So it is very important to be with the client on the same page. So you work together. The client has to trust you. You have to trust the client. That's absolutely necessary. You have to be very open-minded and fair to each other, and that's when you can get the best results.
So Fedor, there are thousands of attorneys here in Chicago. It's not just you. You also have an incredible team that helps you do all of the impactful work that you get
Yes.
done every day. Can you tell us what differentiates you and your team from other attorneys here in Chicago?
Absolutely. First of all, the team that we have in my office, we have obviously very skillful paralegals. We have lawyers. The reason I always had this vision: you cannot do family law when you're by yourself. That's
Sure.
one of the things. So that's the bottom line. I think it's just crazy, and you will torture yourself, and you're not going to do a very good job for your client if you're just by yourself.
Sure.
The reason is somebody has to answer phones, somebody has to prepare motions, bring the motions to court, litigate. So you have to have a team.
Sure.
For the team, and this is the structure that we built over many, many years, we assign to each case at least 3 lawyers and at least 2 paralegals. This way, there's always a lead attorney, as mentioned. It could be me, it could be somebody else in my team, but this is the person who is responsible for the case. And the structure provides the client to be able to give a call at any moment and get response, immediate response to the question. I get it that the most important thing with cases, with family law cases, is to establish a very good attorney-client communication.
Sure.
Clients have questions. They're in stress. They're in distress. They need to know. They have to have their answers to their questions, either by email, by phone call, or coming in person. You have to make yourself available. It's impossible if you don't have enough, people in your office, and we do, and this is how we work. And we mostly do litigate. We do a lot of litigation. Litigation is when people cannot come up to an agreement, so we have to take the case to court. That involves lots of process, co-discovery. We have motion practice, preparing, exhibits and things like that. That involves a lot of work, a lot of power. Finding the right person is very difficult. It's one of the, it is extremely difficult to find the person that would be a good fit, and we would be a good fit for that person, because each firm has different mentality, approach, things of that nature. I can say that at this moment, I'm very happy with who we have for about now 5 years. Very experienced team, very good, reliable paralegals, legal assistants. Legal assistants play a huge role in litigation.
Sure.
You might sometimes be able to substitute an attorney, but it's very difficult to substitute a good paralegal, legal assistant, because these are the people who, you make the first contact with the client, but these are the people who will continue talking to this client more and more and more, and build this relationship with the clients. And when we go to trial, that's exactly what happens. The whole office goes to trial, the team goes to trial, the lawyer, paralegals, the client, we're all present. So we're all like, I would say, a family in terms of, litigating the case, presenting the case. And it's also very important, you as a lawyer can be busy with so many arguments with the judge, the other side. And in the meantime, paralegal, legal assistant that you have with you at that time can explain everything to the client, or sometimes even hold a hand. Because, when we go to litigation, people cry, people scream, it's an expression, it's an emotion that was probably building all this entire time. And sometimes people cry for their kids or for their own lives, or whatever it can be. There has to be somebody by their side still explaining legal process, so they stay focused on what's important.
In your opinion, what do most people misunderstand about family law?
There are lots of misconceptions, but for the most part, in my experience, people tend to, they want to divorce as soon as they can. They want to put this bad experience, or whatever the experience was, behind them as quickly as they can. It doesn't happen that fast. So, even when you get married, you have to wait, you have to apply for license, things like that. With divorce, sometimes clients think that we can get them divorced tomorrow or within a month. Especially, it's difficult with children. Sometimes they even agree upon everything. They still have to, there's a law that you have to live separate and apart for at least 6 months before getting divorced, because we still want them, the legislature wants to make sure that you want a divorce, especially when it involves kids. People usually, file for divorce when they already moved on with their life. Sometimes, they're already in a different relationship, or they moved out of the household and they want to just be done, sometimes even for tax purposes. So, the year is over. I don't want to start a new year being married. It takes time. It involves process. It involves civil process. You have to serve, you have to draft the complaint, serve the other side. They have to respond. You have to do parenting classes and some other this minor steps that you have to do, and then you get divorced. So I think that would be the biggest misconception. You just have to be patient, wait, trust your lawyer.
Wow, thank you.